Dear students, last class we discussed about Raoult's law. So when we prepare a binary solution using liquids, what about vapor pressure of solute, vapor pressure of solvent? So we discussed about Raoult's law. So we continue the same Raoult's law for one more type of binary solution. Okay. So now a binary solution is prepared by using non-volatile solute in a volatile solvent. Okay. So non-volatile solute, solid solute is dissolved in volatile liquid solvent. For this type of binary solution, we are going to find vapor pressure. So what is the vapor pressure of solution? So as I said already, we are going to add non-volatile solid solute in a pure volatile solvent. So because of this, vapor pressure of pure solvent will decrease because one component is non-volatile in nature. So overall vapor pressure of the solution will be decreased, and this overall vapor pressure of the solution will depend only on the solvent molecules. It will not depend on solute particles because which is non-volatile in nature. So last class we discussed about liquid in liquid type of binary solution. So today we are discussing about non-volatile solid in volatile liquid. So in this type of solution, vapor pressure of solution is directly proportional to solvent, will not depend on solute. This is general assumption. Okay. An example is given. You take sodium chloride. So sodium chloride salt is non-volatile in nature. We add it with water, we get sodium chloride solution. When we heat the sodium chloride solution, the solvent water will be evaporated, but solute will be present at the bottom. So this is non-volatile in nature. So for this sodium chloride solution, the vapor pressure of the solution will be reduced because one component is non-volatile in nature. So this vapor pressure can be determined based on how much solvent molecules present on the surface. So vapor pressure is depending on how much molecules present on the surface. So here out of two components, only one component is volatile in nature, solvent. So how much solvent molecules, that means water present on the surface, this will decide the vapor pressure of solution. So vapor pressure of solution is proportional to the mole fraction of solvent. So last class we said vapor pressure of solute is directly proportional to mole fraction of solute. Vapor pressure of solvent is directly proportional to the mole fraction of solvent. Like that we studied. Okay. So here one component is non-volatile, so that overall vapor pressure of a solution is directly proportional to the mole fraction of solvent. Okay. So consider vapor pressure of solution, which is directly proportional to the mole fraction of solvent. So here component A means solvent, component B means solute. Okay, don't confuse. Last class we studied in the reverse order. Okay, so in this derivation, the component A means it represents solvent. Okay, so XA is a mole fraction of solvent. Vapor pressure of a solution is directly proportional to the mole fraction of solvent, and we can remove the proportionality by introducing a constant. So this proportionality constant k value can be obtained. So solvent will be in larger quantity, so XA value will be 1. So mole fraction of solvent can be considered as 1 because this will be in larger quantity. So substitute value 1 in equation 9.12. What will be K value? K value is equal to partial pressure of pure solvent, because solute is non-volatile in nature. Partial pressure of solution is nothing but solvent. Okay. So partial pressure of solution is rearranged as what? Partial pressure of pure solvent. So this value can be substituted again in equation 9.12, and you will get equation 9.13. Partial pressure of solution is equal to the product of partial pressure of pure solvent and the mole fraction of solvent. Okay. So this term partial pressure of pure solvent is moved into the left hand side. So this will come as a division. Partial pressure of solution divided by partial pressure of pure solvent is equal to the mole fraction of solvent A. Then subtract this value from 1 and subtract this mole fraction from 1. So both sides the terms are subtracted from the value 1. So equation 9.14 is rearranged as equation 9.15. So again we rearrange the equation. Partial pressure of pure solvent minus partial pressure or vapor pressure of solution divided by vapor pressure of pure solvent is equal to xb. Why the term xb is written here? 1 minus xa means xb. We already studied mole fraction of component A plus mole fraction of component B is equal to 1. Xa plus xb is equal to 1. So 1 minus xa means xb. So the component B is what? Solute, non-volatile solute. Okay. So this term this is called lowering of vapor pressure. Okay. So due to non-volatile solute, for solution vapor pressure is reduced. So this is called lowering of vapor pressure, and this is related with vapor pressure of pure solvent. So the total term is called a relative lowering of vapor pressure. This is one of the colligative properties we will discuss later. So this is called a relative lowering of vapor pressure. Lowering of vapor pressure is related with vapor pressure of pure solvent. Okay. So this is lowering of vapor pressure which is related with vapor pressure of pure solvent. So the total term on the left hand side is called the relative lowering of vapor pressure, which is equal to the mole fraction of non-volatile solute. Okay. You have to know the difference between binary solution of liquid solute in liquid solvent, binary solution of non-volatile solid in volatile solvent. Okay, you have to know the difference. So in yesterday's class, vapor pressure of solute is directly proportional to the mole fraction of solute. Vapor pressure of solvent is directly proportional to the mole fraction of solvent, but this is not the case in this type of binary solution. The relative lowering of vapor pressure is equal to the mole fraction of component B, that means solute. Okay, next we are going to compare Raoult's law and Henry's law. As we discussed, Henry's law is applicable for a solution having gaseous solute in a liquid solvent. For example, carbon dioxide is dissolved in water to prepare soda water. So that solution can be explained with the help of Henry's law. Okay, but in Raoult's law, we are not dealing with gaseous solute particles. Okay, so according to Raoult's law, what is the equation? This is the equation obtained from Raoult's law. Partial pressure of solute is equal to the or vapor pressure of pure solvent. So here you have to change it. In book there is a mistake. You change it as vapor pressure of pure solvent multiplied by mole fraction of solute. Okay. So just now we studied, isn't it? So left hand side, lowering of vapor pressure. Left hand side, vapor pressure of pure solvent minus vapor pressure of solution. So solution minus solvent means what? Remaining solute. Okay, left hand side we have lowering of vapor pressure. Vapor pressure of solution minus vapor pressure of solvent means remaining solute. So left hand side vapor pressure of solute. Product side mole fraction is there, and this term is also moved into right hand side. So according to Raoult's law, vapor pressure of solute is equal to the vapor pressure of pure solvent. Just change this term, okay, which is mentioned wrongly in book. Vapor pressure of pure solvent multiplied by mole fraction of solute. And this is the equation of Raoult's law for a solution having non-volatile solute in volatile solvent. Then Henry's law. What is the equation we studied in Henry's law? Vapor pressure of solution or partial pressure of solute is equal to the product of proportionality constant and the mole fraction of solute. So this is the equation obtained in Henry's law. Okay. What is the difference between these two? Equation 9.17, Raoult's law. Equation 9.18, Henry's law. So what is the difference between these two equations? Left hand side similar, vapor pressure of solute. Product side mole fraction term similar, mole fraction of solute. The only difference is in Raoult's law partial pressure of pure solvent. In Henry's law proportionality constant Kh. This can also be called as Henry's law constant. This is the only difference between these two equations. Okay. So Henry's law deals with solutions prepared by mixing gaseous solute in liquid solvent. Raoult's law deals with the solutions prepared by mixing non-volatile solute in volatile solvent. So this is the major difference. If you think about Henry's law, in Henry's law also, if the solute is non-volatile, both value will be equal. Kh value and P naught solvent, both value will be equal. So in Henry's law also, if the solute is non-volatile in nature, vapor pressure of pure solvent and the Henry's law constant both will be equal. Okay, so Henry's law constant and vapor pressure of pure solvent will be equal. And next important one more, when we take dilute solutions, the solvent will obey Raoult's law and the solute will obey Henry's law. Okay, you take a dilute solution, the solvent will be in larger quantity which is volatile in nature, so that it will obey Raoult's law, and the solute will obey Henry's law. So with this we complete Henry's law and Raoult's law. We have taken three type of solutions totally: gas and liquid, Henry's law; liquid and liquid, Raoult's law; non-volatile solid and volatile liquid, Raoult's law. So three type of solutions with respective law we have completed. Next we move into solutions. They are classified into ideal solution and a non-ideal solution. Okay, a solution may be an ideal solution or it may be non-ideal solution. We have to know what is ideal solution and a non-ideal solution. So ideal solution means both solute and solvent will obey Raoult's law over entire range of concentration. Okay, so take any solution. If a solute and a solvent obeys Raoult's law over the entire range of concentration, in all concentrations, solute and solvent obeys Raoult's law means then it is called ideal solution. But practically we don't have ideal solution. Like ideal gas, we don't have ideal gas. We have only real gas. The same way, there is no ideal solution. So in all the concentrations, solute and solvent will not obey Raoult's law. Okay. Next, what is the condition to behave a solution as an ideal solution, we have to know the condition. First condition, when the concentration of solute is very low, then the dilute solution will behave as an ideal solution. This is the first condition. When the solution is having low concentration of solute, so this dilute solution will behave as an ideal solution. Second condition is the components solute and solvent should have identical size, structure, and intermolecular force of attraction. If all the three are similar means, then the solution will be ideal solution. First condition, it should be a dilute solution with a low concentration of solute. Second condition is solute and solvent molecules should have identical size, structure, and intermolecular forces. So when you take a sodium chloride and water, sodium chloride is a solute, water is a solvent. In sodium chloride, there will be attraction. In water molecules, there will be intermolecular attraction. Between sodium chloride and water, there will be an attraction. So three type of attractions are common. Between the solute molecules, there will be an attraction. Okay, so this can be said as AA. Okay, so between A and A, there is a force of attraction. Okay. So between the solute molecules, there will be attraction. Between the solvent molecules, there will be attraction. Between solute and solvent, there will be intermolecular force of attraction. So all these three should be similar. Then only the solution will be an ideal solution. Okay. So what are the two conditions? First condition, a dilute solution with low concentration of solute. Second, size, structure, intermolecular forces should be similar for solute solvent. What is the effect of ideal solution? When a solution becomes an ideal solution, what happens? So for an ideal solution, change in volume is not possible. Okay. Delta V value will be 0. So when we mix solute and solvent, there will not be any change in volume. This is first point. Second point, when solute is added with a solvent, heat changes is not possible. So delta H value will be 0. It won't be an endothermic as well as exothermic. No heat changes. Third one, escaping tendency will be same. For solute as well as a solvent, the escaping tendency will be same like a pure liquid. So these are all the effects caused by ideal solutions. Okay. What are the examples of ideal solutions? Ideal solutions can be attained by mixing benzene and toluene, N-hexane and N-heptane are mixed. Ethyl bromide is added with ethyl iodide, chlorobenzene is added with bromobenzene. So when we mix these, and we have to maintain the condition, otherwise the solution will not be an ideal solution, but practically it is not possible. Non-ideal solution. Non-ideal solution means any solution which will not obey Raoult's law over entire range of concentration. So Raoult's law cannot be obeyed in all concentrations, so that practically the solutions are non-ideal in nature. Okay. So what is the effect of non-ideal solution? If the solution is non-ideal in nature means by mixing solute and solvent, there will be a change in volume. By mixing solute and solvent, there will be heat changes. So delta H and delta V value will not be 0. Okay. So a solution will be deviated from the ideal behavior. So this deviation may be a positive deviation and a negative deviation. The deviation is explained based on intermolecular force of attraction. Okay. First we consider positive deviation. So a solution is deviated from the ideal behavior. So this will be a non-ideal solution. And this deviation may be a positive deviation. This should be explained based on intermolecular force of attraction between solute molecules, solvent molecules, solute and solvent molecules. Okay. So as I told already, between the solute there will be interaction. Between the solvent there will be interaction. Between solute and solvent there will be interaction. So intermolecular force of attraction will be there. So consider a solution If the attraction between solute and solvent is weaker, when the attraction is lesser than the attraction in solute and solvent, means this deviation is called positive deviation. You have to remind it. Intermolecular attraction will be lesser between solute and solvent than solute molecules and solvent molecules. So because of this, the solute and the solvent molecules will have the tendency of escaping tendency will be more. So overall vapor pressure will be more, vapor pressure of the solution will be more. Okay, so because of this lesser interaction between solute and the solvent, it will have a greater tendency to escape from the solution, so that vapor pressure of this non-ideal solution increases. So for the solution, if you take vapor pressure, this is vapor pressure of the solution, which will be greater than the sum of vapor pressure of solute and the solvent. This is the vapor pressure of solute. This is the vapor pressure of solvent according to Raoult's law. So because of this positive deviation, overall pressure of vapor pressure of the solution will be greater. This deviation is called a positive deviation. An example is given: mixing alcohol and water. So between ethanol molecules, hydrogen bonding is there. Between water molecules, hydrogen bonding is there. When we mix these two, hydrogen bonding will be a weaker one. Between ethanol and water, hydrogen bonding will be a weaker one. So the deviation will be a positive deviation. Both the molecules will have the tendency to escape. Okay, so overall vapor pressure of the solution will be increased. Okay, overall vapor pressure of the solution will be greater than the vapor pressure of individual solute and solvent. By mixing ethanol and water, delta H value will be positive. So this will be an endothermic process, and there is a slight increase in the volume. So delta V value will also be positive. And many examples are given for non-ideal solutions having positive deviation. Mixing ethanol with cyclohexane, mixing benzene and acetone, adding carbon tetrachloride and chloroform, adding acetone and ethanol, mixing ethanol and water. These are all the examples of non-ideal solutions having positive deviations. Okay. The graph is given for that. So when we draw a graph between mole fraction and the vapor pressure, you can see the deviation. Okay, this is vapor pressure of solvent water, vapor pressure of solute ethanol. This is vapor pressure of solution. So this will have a larger value. So when we draw a graph between vapor pressure and the mole fraction, we will have positive deviation for this non-ideal solution. Next, negative deviation. So consider solute molecules. Between the solute, there will be interaction. Between the solvent molecules, there will be interaction. Between solute and the solvent, there will be interaction. If the interaction between solute and the solvent will be more, then vapor pressure will be reduced. Okay, so between A and B, if there is a greater interaction than the solute and the solvent molecules, if the interatomic forces or intermolecular forces are greater, escaping tendency will be reduced. So vapor pressure of the solution will be reduced. Okay, so overall vapor pressure of the solution will be lower than the sum of vapor pressure of solute and solvent. An example is given: phenol mixed with aniline. So phenol molecules having hydrogen bond, aniline molecules having hydrogen bond. Between phenol and aniline, the strong hydrogen bonding will be formed. Okay, so the bond will be a stronger hydrogen bond, so that the escaping tendency will be reduced. There is a reduction of escaping tendency of a phenol and aniline. Overall vapor pressure of the solution will be less than the individual solute and solvent, or overall vapor pressure of the solution is less than the sum of vapor pressure of solute and solvent. When solute and solvent are mixed, there is a decrease in volume and there is a decrease in delta H, because the process is an exothermic process, this deviation is called a negative deviation. So we draw a graph between vapor pressure and mole fraction. This is an example of non-ideal solution mixing chloroform and acetone. Okay, so this is vapor pressure of chloroform, vapor pressure of acetone. The deviation is a negative deviation, and the deviation of solution, vapor pressure deviation, will be lower than the individual one. Okay. Next question: what are the factors which are responsible for the deviation of a solution from ideal behavior? So, how the solutions are deviating from Raoult's law? First one, solvent solute interactions. So, take solute and the solvent interactions. Okay. So, when a solute is added with a solvent, if the interaction is greater or lesser, then the solution will be deviated from the ideal behavior. So, what is the condition for ideal behavior? Between solute, between the solvent molecules, between solute and solvent, intermolecular force of attraction should be same. Okay. But if the interaction between solute and the solvent will be more, means there is a deviation. Next, a dissociation of solute. If a solute is added, it will be dissociated into constituent ions. The ions will interact with the solvent. Again, the solution will be deviated. You take potassium chloride. When potassium chloride is added in water, it will be separated into K plus Cl minus. Then this will interact with the solvent. So water is a dipole molecule. This ion will have an attraction with dipole. So there will be a strong ion dipole interaction. The solution will deviate from the ideal behavior. Next, dissociation over association of solute. Okay. So when solute is added with a solvent, there should not be association of solute molecules. You take acetic acid, one acetic acid. So this is first acetic acid molecule, which is having an attraction with another acetic acid by hydrogen bonding. Between two solute molecules, there is a formation of hydrogen bonding. This is intermolecular hydrogen bonding. So this is existing as a dimer. Acetic acid is existing as dimer, so that ideal behavior will not be maintained. Okay. So interaction will not be same in all solute molecules, solvent molecules, and between solute and solvent. Because of this dimeric structure, intermolecular force of attraction will be different. Then what is the effect of temperature? Due to change in temperature, then ideal behavior will be disturbed. For example, when we increase the temperature, kinetic energy of all the molecules will be increased. So they are moving rapidly. Intermolecular forces will be reduced. The interatomic attractive forces are reduced. So there is a deviation of ideal behavior. The next factor is pressure. When we increase the pressure, the molecules are coming closer. Once the molecules are coming closer, means between them, intermolecular force will be predominant. So increase of intermolecular force because of increase of pressure. So there is a deviation. Last one, concentration. When we change the concentration of a solution, its ideal behavior will be disturbed. Okay. So if you dilute, interaction is reduced between solute and solvent. When you dilute the solution by adding solvent more, interaction between solute and solvent is reduced, ideal behavior is disturbed. Or if you increase the concentration, you can increase the concentration by adding more solute. So between solute and solvent, interaction will be more. So by diluting or by increasing the concentration, we disturb intermolecular forces of attraction between solute and solvent. So this will disturb the ideal behavior. there is a deviation of a solution from ideal behavior into non-ideal solution. Okay, so these are all the factors. With this we complete ideal and non-ideal solutions. Then what are the factors which affect the ideal behavior? Then tomorrow onwards we are going to study colligative properties, and today's portion is page number 45 to 49. Okay, thank you.